Should I talk about what I found in the basement, or should we dive into the creativity topic?
I feel like I think you should dive into the thing that you found in the basement, because when you posted those photos up, I don't know that after knowing you for however many years we've known each other, have seen those photos. I have seen photos of you when you were 100 pounds heavier, but I don't know if I've seen those specific photos. And I was like, okay, that's a very young Eminem.
Is a very young Eminem, a very young Mason as well, and Dr. Dre is in there as well.
It's a good story. I think the Dr. Dre story is so good and indicative of the times as well, you know. 'Cause
So I'm sorry.
I will expand after you have told the story.
Yeah, so this was in like 2000, 2001 when a young Mason was barely a couple years into radio, and a station I was working on turned into a rhythmic CHR station. The company got sold. The program director had left. Chaos has ensued. Just like now, in a lot of ways, they were like, "Who can do this?" I ended up picking up a lot of the slack and ended up being like an interim program director at 20 years old in my hometown of Saginaw, Michigan, where it was pirate radio at 100.5 is what they called it. It was basically I guess the stationality was that we had killed the previous station and now it's pirate radio. We're taking over, playing the music you really want to hear. And we did really well. Like we had a lot of fun. It really established in the community as a station. I think a lot of folks in Saginaw will remember but I was 18, 19 when that stuff happened. I was turning 21, I believe the next year. I was 20 when this happened because I'm pretty sure I turned 21 in 2000. Yeah, I think I was turning 21 around this time. Sorry, it's hard to it's all a blur, like being 21 should be.
Did you guys say Saginaw?
Did we?
Yeah, because that should have been a thing.
We didn't. We've said Saganawsome, we've said Sag Nasty, the Gnaw, the Nasty, but Saginaw, like, or do you mean like
For pirate radio.
Saginaw? Oh, okay. We didn't. We should have. But it was also the Tri City, so there's Saginaw, and it would have been Bay City and Midland too, yar, or something. But this is funny. This is good, and I'm sure that somebody way above me probably did some brainstorming on that stuff. But yeah, we took over the pirate station and had that kind of stuff happening. And what we did was we sent listeners down to the Up in Smoke tour, which was the resurgence of Dr. Dre and the Chronic 2001. And as Eminem was heating up, this show also included an NWA reunion at the end. Like a little tribute to Eazy and Ice Cube and Dr. Dre, and all of them came out there and did, the Police and all of it. Like at the end of the show, Eminem, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, Warren G. Like they did Regulators live. Like this was an epic, an amazing show. 2 nights in Detroit, Palace of Auburn Hills. I remember. There's a little bit of Dr. Dre's head here, but I'll put it in the video so you can see. It's part of my Instagram post that he signed a thing for me, and I remember going into his dressing room. So I was lucky enough to be the guy that was kind of like the program director. So of course the artists and the program director relationship is important with radio. You saw it a lot when our program directors would be hugged and loved on by all these country artists. It's because they know that they control the spins in that city.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Maybe give me a couple more spins, get me to a higher point on the chart, get me a better selling point. Maybe I can get that Grammy.
It's all
connected. The numbers, Mason. What do they mean? That's a Call of Duty reference that I know will not land here. But otherwise, it is. And that's kind of what I'm talking about when I talk about the radio game. And so they would come to us and say, hey, will you play this young death row artist on your station? We'll get you meet and greets for Eminem and Dr. Dre. And you bet your ass I'll play that song. I don't care what it is. Play it. If it's a guy farting into the mic for 3 minutes, we'll play that 60 times a week because I'm going to meet Dr. Dre. We give away tickets. And then we would write. The same thing happens these days. They go, hey, you got 10 meet and greets, 5 pair. We're giving away 4 pair. You know who gets that last pair? Whoever did the work. You know what I mean? Whoever made the call. or yeah, the promotions director or somebody
And
in the
her friends.
or their friends that can and listen, I'm as guilty as the next guy because if you put this post up in the video here on Facebook, you will see that some of my actual friends were like, "Yo, I was at that show thanks to you. Thanks, brother." Like I was also guilty of this. This is a phase I think we all go through when we're like, tickets are tickets. I can get them for friends. Sometimes people don't pick them up if they win them. Sometimes there are extras. Sometimes there are excess. It can definitely happen. And in this point, I believe I took all my friends to see the Up in Smoke show when I was right around 20. Um, I always had aspirations of being a music producer, which is why, you saw in the last video, I had Adobe Audition open with all these tracks. I love that stuff. I eat it up. It's why I have all these toys that I don't know how to use. It's because I want to be able to. My wife is in a band. If they want to practice here, they can. If I want to record her voice, I can. And so the opportunity to meet Dr. Dre, wanting to be a music producer, is like such I had to jump at that, and I was 20 years old. And did I have a little something rolled up in my pocket? Yeah. Did I sneak it past security? You betcha I did. Did I ask him? No, I chickened out. But I was also there in my industry. Like I was a young person in my industry and I was there amongst my peers. And I didn't want to be that kid that came in with a doobie for Dre. He wouldn't have smoked with me. And he'd have been like, man, I got to perform in a few minutes. I'm kind of can't do that.
Yeah.
It's not Snoop. It's different. But I remember coming into Dr. Dre's dressing room, and I'll talk about meeting Eminem in a second too. But he had a couch, a big screen TV. He was watching Ice Cube perform. And he had the a la carte on the side. Every artist has their like what they want when they come to a show. You know what I mean? Some guys, like I remember the Zac Brown band had like vegan chefs that came with them and cooked everything to make sure it was super hot and healthy and everything was good for the band to be the best they can be. Dr. Dre had chicken wings in like, the thing that stays heated with the little flame
Yeah.
underneath it. Like
Yeah.
that was in there.
Catering tray.
I specifically remember the catering and it just smelled of chicken wings in there. And he was just chilling on the couch watching Ice Cube and we chatted for a little bit. And of course, I said this masterful producer that is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I said, how do I get better in a studio? How do I learn all of this stuff? I'm 20, college at this point. Think about what was 20, 25 years ago, because I'm 45 now. This is when radio was still, a lot of people were cutting tape and colleges were teaching you how to use the reel, right? And play CDs. Meanwhile, in actual radio, things were going digital. I was doing the digital editing that we showed previously. I was learning about these things and how automation, computers, MP3s, we didn't need to learn how to put a record on, but that's what they were teaching at the college in my town. So I didn't go to college for that. Like, how do I learn this stuff, this new stuff? And Dr. Dre's epic advice to me was fuck with everything. I almost put the reverb on it. Fuck with everything. Because that's how important I feel like it is. And I know that it probably gets annoying when I'm like tapping on stuff or clicking around and trying to figure things out, but that's how magic happens. And that's how Dre is the person that he is. I think it's the same for like a Pharrell or a Timbaland or any of these amazing producers. They know how to do things in the tools they have that makes them the masters of their domain and the master classes that they are. Like, it's why Dr. Dre is who he is. And man, what great advice that I fucks with everything to this day. You know what I mean? I toy around with stuff probably to an annoying, never satisfied amount. But I thought that was epic advice that young 20-year-old Mason was given by an absolute legend, not just in his field, but beyond. Like, who invents headphones that change the headphone world? You know what I mean?
Just gonna say, he took his own advice and it made him one of the richest men in the world. Headphones.
Yeah, yeah. Like my man, like I have studio speakers here that I'm listening on, but like this guy understands sound, sonics, auditory mediums. He's heard it all. And how to tweak those little things in there. That's the stuff that you gotta fuck with to know.
What's funny is that I feel like most music producers would agree that those are not good headphones for producing music.
True. Those are consumer headphones,
Yeah.
100%. Like,
They
I'll
do
never.
sound great. Like if you're just like on the subway or you're at the gym or whatever, or on the plane, they sound fantastic for that. But if you're
They look
actually
cool.
producing studio quality stuff. You want to be able to hear all of the different ranges of tones and like
Right.
sonics and all of that kind of stuff. You want to be able to hear each piece of that. And you can't with those because they're a little bass heavy.
They're different. I like this comparison that just popped in my head was that Beats by Dre headphones are like Nike or Jordans. They look amazing. They're not the best for support. You know what I mean? You want a
Yeah.
different shoe for that. You want like, you got the same headphones as me right now? Radio folks, stand up. You got the
These are
Sonys?
no.
No?
I
Okay.
haven't had those in a long time, but those are the ones.
Those
Those
are
are the
like
ones.
the old standby. They're right here. Look at this. This is my first pair of headphones
Oh man, they still
that I
exist.
that I still have to this day. These are the ones that you would always come into the studio and see, and never I'd be like, don't touch them. And it was not territorial. They might literally fall apart because they're old.
Yeah.
Um, those are the first
Yeah,
headphones I ever had.
Sony, what are they? MDR7
Yeah, it
something.
says MDR V6. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I've probably had 4 or 5 pairs of those over the years, and
Mhm.
now I think these are Audio Technicas. They're not awesome, but
They
they get the
work.
job done.
You're also not producing music. You know what I mean? So to be fair. But I absolutely loved that note from Dr. Dre. And as I've talked about meeting Dr. Dre and Eminem for decades. And people have been like, Mason, that'd be cool. I'd like to see the pictures. And I finally found them. I finally found them. Eminem had just woken up and was not great.
He offered me no advice that was life
No,
changing.
he didn't even, I don't think he even talked, but he was at such a cosmic place at
Yeah.
this point. Like this was peak. I'm sure he had just taken a bunch of stuff and it had not kicked in yet because he had just woke up. I remember him specifically saying, I just woke up. What's up? Like, nice to meet you. Thanks for playing the song. And he didn't even put his arm around me because I was with the woman in these pictures is the record rep from Interscope at the time, who was amazing. And I talked about it in the last episode, but like, think about being a record rep and having to buy disposable cameras for every city you're in and labeling it. This is this station. This is this station, taking them all to get developed and then sending them all to people because that's what it was just 20 years ago. God, I feel like I'm the oldest guy in the room right now. But
You are.
that I am. Yeah, you're right.
At least this room.
You're right. This Zoom room or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so very cool to kind of get a chance to look back. And I don't know how many people that were in the Mason and Remy audience know that we worked top 40 before we worked in country, but I also worked rhythmic, hip hop, rock. I've worked in every genre of music, it feels like, at this point. But that wasn't what it was about for me. And I don't think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Remy. I don't think that's what it was about for you either. It's more about this and what
Yeah.
we're doing.